Hi, all. It's Rick Bassman here from Maui with Talking Tough. And one of those same built in excuses that we often have. We just had a storm blow in hard about 10 minutes ago. It took down our connectivity. I am hoping that we stay up and running today. Got a very special guest. I'll bring him on in a minute. His name is Nate Boyer. For those who are, and we've got about half an hour only today. So this is going to be a little different for us. We usually get deep in with a longer conversation. Also, I almost always know my guests well. I've never met Nate before, nor did I get to talk with him to prep it all in advance. So we're going to shoot from the hip. This guy's a Renaissance man. I know that he's done a million of these things, so should be smooth and easy. So who is Nate Boyer? Normally, we would ask our guests to get really into that, and we'll do some of that. But because we're limited on time, I want to do a quick intro of my own through my research. We launched the show back in March, and I made a hit list right away of people that I wanted to have on the show. So I did a lot of research far and wide. And as you know, we've had some pretty unusual, out there, amazing guests on this show. And mostly what we aim for amongst those unusual, out there, outlandish guests are guests that, really have it together. People that have faced down a lot of stuff, risen through adversity, and keep being strong people during these increasingly challenging times. Nate Boyer was, first of all, and I'll always be a huge fan for this, he was an Army Green Beret. That in and of itself is enough and special enough for Talking Tough, certainly. But here's a guy who decided early or mid in his life, or maybe even later, he'll tell us, that he wanted to play football. He didn't play as a kid. He didn't play in high school. He walked on to the Texas Longhorns, one of the top teams in the nation, made the starting squad, then went and got deployed again to Afghanistan, came back, started every game for the rest of his career. Then as a walk-on in the NFL, became the, I believe, oldest rookie ever in the NFL. There's a lot more about Nate. We'll bring him on in a moment to get into that. I think that's a great start. It's my pleasure to finally welcome to Talking Tough a guest we've been chasing since the beginning, since last March, Mr. Nate Boyer.
How you doing, sir? Appreciate you.
Oh man, likewise, Nate. Thanks for making the time. I know we're short on time, so I guess we'll just we'll dive right in. Let me ask you quickly, because I know a lot about your history. What are you up to presently?
Well, I was fortunate enough over the last 5 years to co-found a charity with Jay Glazer that's called Merging Vets and Players, MVP for short. We bring together combat vets and former professional athletes and help them find purpose, identity, that service, and the locker room again when the uniform comes off. All too often, both veterans and athletes, they struggle with that transition, as I did as well in different ways. I was lucky to have football to kind of hold into after the military, but it wasn't without its challenges, that's for sure. And so through MVP, we've opened up chapters in Los Angeles, Las Vegas, Chicago, New York, and Atlanta. This year during the pandemic, actually, I directed a feature film about the genesis of MVP. And so we made it for no money, as far as Hollywood goes, no money. But it was incredible, man. And people like Michael Strahan and Randy Couture and Jay Glazer and Tom Arnold and Tony Gonzalez, all these athletes and actors stepped up and were willing to help us out and give some of their time and do some cameos and whatnot. And we had about half veterans on the cast and crew. So it was a really cool project to get done. And, I'm in the middle of post-production right now, but we're getting there. I think it's something really special that we have.
So we'll be able to.
I lost you there.
There we go. The storm. It's the Maui storm, man.
Oh man,
so
that's
we'll
crazy.
Be able to see the movie later. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. You got some storm connectivity issues out there, man. It's Maui though. You can't complain too much, but I bet it gets crazy.
No, it's a great place to live. It really is. We're up here isolated in what's called the Upcountry. We have no neighbors. Very little kind of services of any sort up here at all. It's a beautiful place to live, but it's oftentimes like living in a third world country. So, you take the bad with the good, and it's mostly good. So I'm not complaining. So we'll be able to see the movie later this year then?
I'm not sure about later this year. We'll see. It's just, post-production is taking longer than expected as well because budget limitations, but also just with everything going on, it's hard. It's hard right now. It's a weird time.
Wait, so there's something going on and there's a weird time? All right, man. I want to ask you about how you deal with what's happening right now, because I read, and I don't want to dwell too much on the following, and I'm sure you're tired of it. You have an association to Colin Kaepernick. And I'll just tell it really quickly for the people that are not initiated. He obviously sat out a game in protest. You were asked by the Army Times to write an article about it, but instead wrote a letter to him. And if I get this wrong at any juncture, please jump in and interrupt me. I want to be sure. And the open letter caught his attention. He then wanted to meet you. You guys met, and I know that you had some. Saying have some words is the wrong way to say it. You got along fine, but I know you didn't necessarily agree with his position. I don't think you agree with it at all, because I know you're a patriot. You're an Army Ranger. I know that you support everything or most things the country stands for, I'm sure, and the flag stands for. But you suggested to him a way he could participate that might mitigate some of the response that he was getting. With a guy who is so patriotic, a guy that comes from the Army, how do you put what most people's reaction to that would be aside and engage with somebody like that to try to find a middle ground?
Yeah, I think it came from an understanding that, my relationship to the flag, the way I perceive things, the way I feel about it, my emotions, they're all related to my experiences, what I went through, what I saw, what I fought for. And those are great things. I'm proud of those things, but it doesn't mean that they are the only way to think and that they are right or wrong or anything like that, right? And, I worked with a lot of people overseas in Afghanistan and Iraq that I didn't agree with in a lot of ways, fundamentally, culturally, customarily, things just sometimes you just have to let that stuff go and accept people, and understand that most people are good people and they're just trying to do the right thing in their eyes and what they think is right. And we all have different ways of going about that. And sometimes I get offended, I get hurt by things that people say and do, but I can't let that control my life and control my emotions. I can't let them, I can't let that power take me over. So, I wrote that letter. Colin reached out because in the letter I basically just said, look, this is why I feel the way that I do about those symbols, but I also fought for your right to do what you're doing. All of us took the oath to defend the Constitution, which includes the First Amendment. So it's not about me liking it or agreeing with it, but it is, in my opinion, at least, about me, I guess, respecting your right to do that, regardless of how I took it, how I perceived it. And he reached back out to me and wanted to meet. So we met before their final preseason game that year in 2016 down in San Diego in the lobby of the hotel about 4 hours before kickoff. And we talked for a couple of hours. And at the end of the conversation, and it was a good conversation, he just asked me if I thought there was another way he could demonstrate that wouldn't offend people in the military. And I said, no, there's nothing you're going to do that's not going to offend some people, and that's just the truth. I said, but if you're committed to not standing, which he'd said adamantly, I think to me, sitting on the bench, isolated from your team, isn't super inspiring. I think the best move for you, in my opinion, would be the most important thing, I guess, is to be alongside your teammates. And if you're committed to not standing, then I think taking a knee is the only other thing that maybe makes sense. And I think kneeling is a form of sign of respect. It's your choice. And he chose not to do it. I said, you could put your hand on your heart. You could bow your head. You could look up at the flag. You could do whatever you want. But I think that at least shows that you're willing to give a little and take a step. And so he did that. And I think the context of that and that story kind of got lost over the last few years. But, that night when he did that, I stood next to him with my hand on my heart, sort of signifying that I'm here with you, and with some of the stuff that you're saying and what you're demonstrating for, I don't disagree with. I mean, I want this place to be a better country and a safer place, and but there's certain things that he says and does that I don't agree with, and that's okay too. But I can still have the conversation. We can still have the conversation, listen to one another, and really try to find a common ground and work together towards making this place better. We can't just do away with everything. We've got to just restructure things and fix things that are broken. And it's just like a sports team. When you have a cancer within the team, you either got to cut the cancer out or you got to fix that person. You know what I mean? And that's the same way with a lot of the systems in our country. We have to fix them. We have to approach those things together, though.
So I want to come back to that in a second for sure. You took a guy or got with the guy whose position you absolutely did not agree with, and you were not only cool about hearing him out, and while not agreeing with him, you're very cool about it. Not only accepting his position, but helping him improve it. I think that's an amazing lesson for everything in life, as you were just saying, especially with what's happened this past week, this past few months. What are your hopes for our country over the next few months? It's a big broad question, I know that.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear off the cuff what your thoughts are about that.
Well, for all of us, for all of our sake, I really hope, these vaccines and everything work out and we get through this time, because I know I'm not saying that's causing everything, but it's not helping. It's made it a very tough, almost a year now. But I also hope that we can all take a step back and settle down a little bit and enjoy our families and our friends and be good to ourselves. And then when we talk to those neighbors that we don't like or don't agree with, we can do it with a kinder heart. And I hope this last year has been a big wake up call for the country, and that we can somehow get over this division and start to come back together again. I mean, I remember how unified we felt after the tragedy of 9/11, and that's a great feeling, and I miss that. I think a lot of us miss that, those that remember it anyway. And but all these things are happening for a reason, because something's not right. You know what I mean? I don't think it's just arbitrary. I really don't believe that, and I think it's necessary. It's necessary, like growth. When you work out, you tear your muscles so that they can repair and grow. So like there is an element of like that needs to happen in some way for us to grow. I think that's just the way that is. It's uncomfortable.
I agree with you completely, man. And I think we know, guys that have been through a little bit of stuff like you have, like I have, I think we all come to the realization at one point or another, everything does happen for a reason. I'm dying to see when the dust settles what the reason has been for this. Maybe healing the racial divide. Who knows? But it's going to be something big, I think. Are you optimistic that we're going to head back in the right direction?
Yeah, I am optimistic. And I can be a pretty pessimistic guy. I think that goes along with another point about this next year, including myself. I need to be better about this, is like just being better to ourselves. You know what I mean? Not being so hard on ourselves all the time. And understanding that we're not perfect. It's okay. Like we're all a little bit broken. We're all a little messed up. We make bad decisions, and life's just hard sometimes. It just is, and that's okay. Like accepting that, it's really hard to do, but accepting that and understanding, believing that you're still a good person, and you still have value, and you're going to come out of this. That's a hard thing to remember, but I think that reflects a lot outward. How you feel about yourself inward reflects a lot on how you treat people outward. And I hear and feel all this anger from people, and I think a lot of it comes from just like for oneself.
Agreed. And I think you have the magic answer. You're good to others. You help others, be of service, whatever we call it. That's the way through to me. And I believe that's part of the message I'm getting from you. And on that note, if you wouldn't mind, I don't know what the confidentiality issues are or whatnot. Is there a great success story from MVP that you like to share?
Yeah, we have a ton of them. I was actually just talking to Glazer a little bit ago about it. And, I think just this concept, like for instance, even with the movie. So when MVP started, I was down at there's a veterans shelter, like a transition center, but it is technically a homeless shelter on Sunset Boulevard in East Hollywood, and not the nicer part of Hollywood. And it's all Iraq and Afghanistan veterans that are in this place. Unfortunately, they shut down not long ago, but we were allowed to film there for the movie before they did. And there's 48 bunks in there. They're always full. And not only had so many of the people that had been through that place come through MVP, been part of our program, but they went on to, get jobs and get out of there and live in their own place and start their lives over. Truly, like, I don't want to say complete that transition, because I don't think we always do, but at least start it. You know what I mean? At least like believe in themselves again and understand their worth and their value. And these things they did overseas, even if they're really seemingly horrible sometimes and very challenging to get over, and you have this survivor's guilt or whatever your trauma is, you made it back, and in our opinion, you owe it to those that didn't make it back to live a great life. There's survivor's guilt, but there's also survivor's responsibility. So it's up to us to, like, I think a lot of, from a veteran community standpoint, to lead a lot of this country back out of the hole that we're in, but also follow your dreams, man. Follow your American dreams. And that's what those guys would want, the ones that didn't make it back. And the ones that are struggling right now, they need to see that as well. So we're all helping each other by doing that. And so that's not really an individual one, but that's like, there's countless stories like that. People that they had childhood sexual trauma, horrible stuff, reasons they ran to the military, to get away from that life, from that childhood. And then they get out and they're right back in that circumstance, right back in that neighborhood, and they don't know what to do or how to start doing it. And they don't even know what they like. And so like, that's part of what the program offers, because it's just a network. It's just a community that we're building. It's we're all coaching each other up. Like, I don't have the magic words. I don't know what the answer are. I'm trying to figure them out every day too, but we're there for one another. And when you get these big groups of people, 50, 60 people in these meetings, training together and then coaching each other up when we're all exhausted on the wrestling mat later, it's super valuable. We get so much out of it. Just hearing each other's stories and hearing what worked for one another. And if I'm having a bad day or going through something tough and I'm willing to lay it out there on the mat and share it, there'll be people in that circle that'll just be like, hey, this is what I did when that happened, and I can relate in this way. And it just, number one thing is you don't feel alone. And beyond that, you just know that other people have been through this too, and they survived it, so you can do it as well.
Sure. So you have your hands on things quite literally. You're really, really in the mix yourself. First, you've been doing a lot of wrestling. Did you did you get on the mats with your fellow Army vet Randy Couture?
Yeah, I have before, and
how'd that go for you?
It didn't go very well. He was in his he's in his mid 50s now, I think, and he still throws people around. He's amazing. But Randy's a great guy.
Randy's an old friend. As a matter of fact, I managed his opponent in his mixed martial arts debut at UFC 13. And he killed my guy, my 6'5", 300-pound, crazy-looking monster. He beat him like in 40 seconds, but it's all good. Yeah,
that's good, man. It was funny. He was showing me a few things, and the minute he felt me just a little bit trying, he made sure I knew that, he put me in my place right away. Made sure I knew he was messing with it. I was like, okay, all right. It was just a simple little shrug, kind of throw, and I was off balance like that.
He's a world-class guy in that discipline.
He is a great guy.
What was your specialty in the Green Beret?
I was a communications sergeant, so it was like satellite communications, kind of handling the radios and whatnot. You cross-train in everything, and I personally think the medics were the most badass. They had so much more training than us. As far as the schoolhouse was an extra 6 months long, but also just, there's a lot riding on that. You have a lot on your shoulders, a big burden, as a medic, as a combat medic. But all the MOSs, the engineers and the weapon sergeants as well. And then obviously your intel guys and, your leadership. It's all really cool. I think combo, I probably had the easiest one. You can always just blame the atmosphere when the radios aren't working. You can't really do that when a gun's not working or somebody's bleeding out. You can't make excuses like I could. But I tried to make sure everything was working properly and fix it when it needed to. But
here's a funny kind of Green Beret related question for you. So we have a guest on Talking Tough next week. His name is Robert Vecino from Vivos X. It's the far and away the world's largest Armageddon prepper outfit. They built like these multi-billion-dollar shelters under the ground all over the world, and they're convinced the world's coming to an end. At least their business model depends on it. What's your plan? You're optimistic things are going to work out. If it doesn't, do you guys have a plan?
Nope. Man,
I was ready to hear.
I'm going to adjust.
Army Green Beret plan.
No, I don't have one. I mean, I'm armed. I don't know. I think I'm just going to adjust as we go. I don't want to just, I don't know, head for the hills or anything. But I also want to help fix this thing on the ground. I want to be boots on the ground as well. But if all goes to hell, I feel like I'll be able to figure it out.
You'll be okay. I'm sure you're going to be one of the resourceful ones. I have little doubt. Are you in Los Angeles these days?
Yeah, I am. I am in Los Angeles. I'm going to be splitting a little bit of time with here in Austin, Texas, though. But yeah, I'm out here.
And why Los Angeles?
Well, I came down here after college. Actually, I actually lived here a little bit before the military as well. I lived in San Diego and LA after high school. Then went into the military and then joined the military and then went on to University of Texas and played football. And then came back out here to finish my master's degree. I did an internship with Peter Berg, who's a filmmaker. He did, Friday Night Lights and Lone Survivor.
Peter, sure.
Yeah. He does a lot of sort of action, military related, often sports related projects, and so it kind of made sense for me just to learn the business, the nuts and bolts, sort of the behind the scenes development side of things. If I understood the content better, I thought, and so it made sense. So I finished that out here, and then I started training at Jay Glazer's gym, Unbreakable Performance Center, and I was training there with hopes of getting a shot in the NFL. And Jay helped me out quite a bit, helped me get representation, and was in the ear of every head coach and GM in the league, And fortunately, I had a couple of offers from the St. Louis Rams at the time and the Seattle Seahawks on the last day of the draft to sign as a free agent. And I went with Seattle because they'd been to back-to-back Super Bowls. And I figured, I was a Green Beret. I got to go for the toughest challenge here. And so I went up to Seattle and was fortunate enough to play in one preseason game. But as you said earlier, it was incredible. I mean, I was 34 years old, and I was the oldest guy on the team, and I was the oldest rookie in NFL history, at least in the modern era. So,
wow. And is that a distinction you still have, oldest rookie?
I think so.
Awesome.
34 is pretty high up there for the NFL.
So you kind of had, and I don't need to make light of it all. I think it's amazing, but you kind of had your Rudy moment where you got to suit up and get on the field and the whole nine.
Yeah, I got to play. I played the whole second half. I mean, I was a long snapper, so you don't play that much anyway. I think I was only in 5 or 6 plays, but but it was awesome. All my snaps were great. Nobody blocked any kicks, so that's a win. It just was a matter of, I was not the biggest guy by any means, certainly not the fastest guy or the most talented. But I worked my ass off and got it, and just got a shot, got an opportunity, and that's all you can really ask for.
Can you relate to, and I know we're getting close on time, so I'm cognizant that we do need to wrap up pretty quickly, but do you relate to the movie Rudy? And I ask about it again only because everybody knows that movie.
Yeah. Well, I grew up a Notre Dame fan. I mean, I was from the Bay Area, so I was a 49ers fan first. Joe Montana went to Notre Dame, and Notre Dame was always on TV every Saturday, so I just became a Notre Dame fan. Because at the time the local teams weren't very good. It was like Cal and Stanford, and they just weren't they weren't great. So I pulled for Notre Dame, and a lot of my heroes came through Notre Dame. And so then when that movie came out, I think I was probably 12 years old or so. I loved it. I just love I love the underdog spirit. It's a very American thing. for us to we pull for our underdogs. It's not like that in every part of the world.
And you were that, and you accomplished some incredible things. And you're in LA. You obviously know how the business works. Is there like a Nate Boyer life story in the future coming to the small business?
I still got to live it. I'm not done living it yet.
All right.
But no, nothing's in the works. No.
I'm sure you're pretty well connected in that world, the unscripted world and whatnot.
Yeah, it was. I was actually hosting a show for NFL Network that was like an Anthony Bourdain style show. We did it for 2 seasons, but we didn't do it this year because of everything going on. And so I'm hoping we can pick that back up next year because I love that stuff. It was just going around the country, meeting different people in different NFL cities and, hearing about different social projects they have going on. A lot of them social justice related, specifically in light of everything that had been going on. So, I'm hoping we can get back to doing more of that. It was cool. It was fun. Maybe we can make it a little more fun next time and kind of keep bringing people together while sharing different viewpoints and experiences.
That's a great mission, man. I'm keeping the eye on the clock for you, so I know it's time for us to get ready to say goodbye here. Where can people go to support MVP or anything else you would like people to be aware of?
Yeah, go to vetsandplayers.org. That's where the MVP website. Or just Google merging vets and players and check us out. You can follow me if you'd like at Nate Boyer 37 on Twitter and Instagram. I'm wearing this T-shirt for a specific reason. A buddy of mine who was a Marine in 2-7, which was a battalion that got hit really hard on back-to-back deployments in 08 and 09. And they've lost, I think, close to 50 men to suicide now since 2010 from that one battalion, which is crazy. But Trinidad is his name, Trinidad Garcia, and he started a jeans company called Trinidad 3, a denim company. He went from the Marine Corps to fashion school because he was in love with denim, and that's what he wanted to do. A very outside-the-box path. But happy to say that we just got into Nordstrom recently, so we're available on Nordstrom Online, and it's everything's made in the USA, and it's made by vets, vet owned and operated. So I just think it's really cool. There's a lot of great veteran owned and operated businesses out there and companies. I know Trinidad really well through MVP. I know his story really well, and I've seen the man at work, and it's awesome stuff. So I had to be a part of it. But anyway,
where do we look that up? What's the
Trinidad 3 Jeans? They're on Instagram at Trinidad 3 Jeans. I believe the website is trinidad3.com. It might be trinidad3jeans.com. I don't want to screw that up. But if you Google Trinidad 3 Jeans.
And when we post this, we'll put all the links up ourselves as well. So we'll make sure people see that. Well, Nate, in about half an hour, we talked about the end of the world. We talked about bringing people back together, football, wrestling, fashion design. I wish we could have had more time, hopefully another time in the future.
Yeah, let's do it again.
Thank you very much for coming on, man. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Rick. I appreciate you, brother.
All right, Nate. Likewise. Hope to see you again soon, man.
Keep talking tough.